Yeah, we have the key.
Me respond for the gal, so let them in free.
From the dance floor go to the VIP. Anyway you see we pure up, gal fi follow we. Take when miss goody from gal fi.
Make them gal fi ready for any gal we are free.
This
is how we do it.
Do it.
This is how the
cry.
We know how to
treat it excellent way. I can't Agent Sasko, we ain't gonna live on rice and let's call them. I can't government, we have this to hacks you.
Poor people are suffer, look like them not see the money done in our bills, we not none pay.
So at this we are hacks them, we want the fox them, and with the money gone, when we use pay the tax them.
City gone up so nothing but cheap now, people all on a motor rubbish.
You know see hungry a box them, so we are hacks them, and with the money gone, when we use pay the tax them.
Place the on fire.
Emergency, but the fire brigade now no urgency.
Yo, them fi move faster, hear me no master. Oh, chuck a drive out and have no water.
Me want to who the blame or who are the culprit. If your knees sprain and you walk over public,
you could end up in one of the years them, because the government not pay the nurse them.
One more police patrol cause the crime rate high.
Officer them a face it, me know them a try.
Well, you can't blame the police them when them barely have gas in the jeep them.
So me say people that suffer look like them no see the money done in our bills we not nothing pay.
Well, at this we a ox them, we want the fox them, and where the money gone, we must pay the tax them.
The city gone up so nothing no cheap now, people all on a motor rubbish cheap.
Hungry a box them, so me a ox them, and where the money gone, where we use pay the tax them.
Me a go country for the weekend, the first drive me drive out me rim them then.
All now who no fix the patrol them, toll road no come cause we pay the toll them.
Killer, another thing when me have to mention. Tell me what to me granny pension.
How long she a work a post office and the pension.
Happy Hump Day! Happy Wednesday! Welcome to Community Voices, where like-minded people come together to share common goals and interests. I am your girl, MoMo Love, and over there is DJ Fiyabone. We are back together again. How are you, DJ Fiyabone?
I'm good.
Are you here? Are you here? I'm here. What up, community? I am so happy, community, that we are all here together. I hope you have downloaded the free Ablazin Radio Pro app. It is free, and it is for me. It is for iPhone and Android users. That means it's compatible for each and every single one of you, and you can take us every single place you go. Also, listen live on the website, www.ablazinradio.com. It is where entertainment lives, and I hope you guys give us a call tonight at 240-949-2289. Bones, how have you been holding up in this pandemic?
I'm keeping the same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've been doing all the right things?
Yeah. I'm on the front line saving the world, man.
All right, we appreciate that. Oh, you get up and go to work? Good for you. We appreciate that. Well, I want to remind everybody, because it is our duty too. Make sure you do the 5 things. You know, the top 5 things. Wash your hands. Often. Okay? Wash your hands often. As well as cough or sneeze into your elbow. All right? You know, if you ever think about it, if you sneeze, all that phlegm and spit, comes all out your mouth. So, you know, put it right there in the crook of your elbow, and that will save a lot of lives. Listen, try not to touch your face. You know, I have a bad habit of that, Bones. I have a very bad habit of touching my face. I know everything is there, but, you know, I just want to touch my face. So be careful about doing those things. Also, stay more than 3 to 6 feet apart. I made sure I tested it when we came in. We were 3 to 6 feet apart. And listen, if you are feeling sick, stay home. It is one of the most important things that you can do. I also say, you know, wash your surfaces often. You know, especially if you go out and you come back in, you're bringing bags in, you know, you're putting bags on your counter, you might sit your coat down or whatever the case may be. Wipe your counters up. I think that's another way that you can kind of help in fighting this pandemic.
Don't fight the water.
Don't fight the water. The water is good for you. And I also say wear gloves. There has been some reports to say not wear gloves. I say if you're going to go out, I think you should wear gloves. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it because you're touching other surfaces. And I mean, we've been seeing these videos of people licking surfaces. And at first they were saying, I think it is still rings true that it kind of stays on the metal surfaces. So make sure you wipe the surfaces and wash your hands, wear gloves, do whatever it is that you can do for your part in order to control this pandemic. It is serious, it is real, and as they say, things are going to get worse before they get better. And I think on all levels, on an economic level, on a relationship level, on a patience level, and I think if we just band together and do everything that we possibly can to take this time to do some things that you haven't done before, learn a new craft or fix some things, do some early spring cleaning. I mean, there's so many things that can be done. I saw a video earlier today. There are some Jamaicans that live in Wuhan, China, where the epidemic started, and they were giving just family tips on how they're, banding together and playing games and praying together. And I'm sure that they're taking their time to have their own sanity in their own spaces together. So whatever it is that you have to do, community, make sure you do that, as well as check on your single friends. Okay, your single, non-having kid friends. They need you during these times, so check on them, as well as the elderly. They say that if your elders are in a nursing home or assisted living or anything like that, to give them a call. Now, I know some of my community is not having that because they're going to go see their grandma. But please make sure that you are safe and respect what the authorities are saying, as well as each other. Check on each other, period. We need each other, and so check on each other. And so keep it locked right here to Ablazin Radio, especially Community Voices, which you can hear us every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Here we're gonna have a different little controversial topic tonight. We're gonna talk about colorism. Light versus dark. It does it really still exist? And we're going to talk with Shannon Anderson. She wants to help us change the trajectory on our thinking. Right here on Community Voices on Ablazin Radio, it is where entertainment lives.
The money they feel no mean nothing to me. If you are free when I'm a bird, then you want to bring me.
Done them already. Get back to the money. All them a preach and teach. Over they go beat and teach. Them a jive by and I know them can't reach. Go and back up here.
Big up yourself, Frederick Asante, for my Team Enlightenment shirt, straight from Ghana, Africa.
Over they go beat and teach. Man jive with the fire tick panic car scene. Boy mouth full of concrete. So police side fight for years, them don't see them. Boy they could the last 1 week. The family's mad, they have to weep. See them so me see. Beat and teach.
Queen Kiki, pick up yourself.
Beat and teach, beat and teach, beat and teach. Cassava peace, beat and teach, beat and teach, beat and teach, beat and teach.
Hey, Arthur.
Everybody see, just figure beat and teach. We no put boy in them place to take them out of that.
Check us out right now on ablazinradio.com. It is where entertainment lives. Download the free app, I say.
Your son just got carried on a meteorist, so that's every day they rest.
We back, y'all. We back.
And left them featherless, sister left brotherless.
Fiyabone 592 sound.
Water and an upper water. From them this them get the same time, not after. What do that knock off ya? You see I must the earth them want to pop. Them do a war. Them think it over. Them skin run left, them bone fit over. The first 24 hours, them a fraud like soda. You see say them a paper soldier. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach.
Just shy true, me see you. Plus the lady to your right look like she woulda fight for your long hair, bow legs in her east, but she pretty in her eye. And your body shape so good, look like a hourglass. Regular, but none of them none the inner your class. And you not worry about not this because you have to you are my lady, my baby. You are my lady, my baby. Just wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body, You can take over your brain, you get mad now. So turn round, make you clap now. Girl, you sexy with the wine, you a tease me. So me know when me bring you home, you a go play.
It's Community Voices.
Me see you all a bill now. Have your house, but you a chillin' and a villa now. Make your ex know me a ring ding, you know. And me not go cheap because this.
Happy Hump Day, everybody.
Anytime we flex, me I rate it as the best one. And it make me want married, give me a left hand. Nobody worry about a thing, me have the best plan. You deserve the world and more, nothing less than.
Tell a friend, we are on tonight. Yes.
You are my lady, my baby. Just wind up your body, girl. 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 You want me wife, you want me baby. Me backbone, you want me kidney. I mean, I want no other lady. Are you me wanting in my life, you drive me crazy. Hey, me go spoil it cause you good to me, you loyal. So just wine for the general, the marshal. Girl, your body, just a mad me. And the thing the way you do, they just a...
Let's go.
Love it, say you bad, but in a good way. And prefer you over any girl, any day. Can't study you more time, is hard clear. But me no care, me love you anyway.
Y'all, we going commercial free tonight.
Wind up your body, wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body, wind up.
Let's go.
Wind up your body, wind up your body, girl.
Big up DJ Ablazin in the building.
Kiss your pretty face like a baby just wants so your face
Kim Righteous, big up yourself. It's Wednesday, y'all. We back together again.
Tell your body full of energy and the fin you fit it. You a shot and it to the film if you left him. Tip up on your door, tip up any macom. All when it a bun, you turn up, you never run. Tip up on your door,
Bone showing off tonight, y'all. He gonna get it.
The moon and me hotter than the sun. Tip up on your door, tip up any macom. All when it a bun, you turn up, you never run. Tip up on your door, girl and have a little fun. Girl you bright like the moon and me hotter than the sun. A girl,
want it, my wife.
we go play a reserve. Be a songsters in the money where you deserve. Smart TV, gear fridge, food preserve. Big bad stove, you prepare any dessert. Anywhere you go, your man a pal for your return. Anywhere you go, a girl a pre, you she be turn. Hotter than the rest on Facebook. Better than the rest, pan Peter. Tip up on your door, tip up any macom. All when it a bun, you turn up, you never run. Tip up on your door, the land of a little fun. Girl you bright like the moon, and me hotter than the sun. Tip up on your door, tip up any macom. Yeah, we have the key.
Me response for the girl, so let them in free.
From the dance floor go to the VIP. Anyway you see we pure hot gal a fi follow we. Take when miss goody from gal a pee.
Make them gal a feel ready for any gal we a free.
This is how the this is how we do it.
Do it.
This is how the
Cry.
this is how we do it.
Treat it excellent way. I can't Agent Sasko, we ain't gonna live on rice and let's go. I can't. Government, we have this to hacks you.
Poor people are suffer, look like them not see the money done in our bills, we not none pay.
So what this we a hacks them? We want the fox them, and with the money gone, when we use we have the tax them.
City gone up, so nothing but cheap now. People all on a motor rubbish.
You know see hungry a box them, so we a hacks them, and with the money gone, when we use we have the tax them.
Place them on fire.
Emergency, but the fire brigade not no urgency.
Yo, them fi move faster. Hear me no master. How chuck a drive out and have in no water.
Me want to who the blame who are the culprit. If your knees sprain and you walk over public,
you could end up in one of the years them, because the government not pay the nurse them.
One more police patrol cause the crime rate high.
Officer the
you can't blame the police. And when them barely have gas in the jeep them.
So me say people that suffer look like them no see. The money done in a bills we not nothing feed.
Well at this me a ask them. We want the fox them and where the money gone. Where we must pay the tax them.
The city gone up so nothing no cheap. Now people all on a mouth a rubbish sheep.
Hungry a box them. So me a ask them and where the money gone. Where we just pay the tax them.
Me a go country for the weekend. The first drive me drive out me rim them.
All now who no fix the patrol them. Toll road no come cause we pay the toll them.
Killer, another thing when me have to mention. Tell me what to me granny pension.
How long she a work a post office and the pension.
Happy Hump Day! Happy Wednesday! Welcome to Community Voices, where like-minded people come together to share common goals and interests. I am your girl, MoMo Love, and over there is DJ Fiyabone. We are back together again. How are you, DJ Fiyabone?
I'm good. I'm good.
Are you here? Are you here? Are you here?
I'm here. What up, community?
I am so happy, community, that we are all here together. I hope you have downloaded the free Ablazin Radio Pro app. It is free, and it is for me. It is for iPhone and Android users. That means it's compatible for each and every single one of you, and you can take us every single place you go. Also, listen live on the website, www.ablazinradio.com. It is where entertainment lives, and I hope you guys give us a call tonight at 240-949-2289. Bones, how have you been holding up in this pandemic?
I'm keeping the same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You been doing all the right things?
Yeah. I'm on the front line saving the world, man.
All right, we appreciate that. Oh, you get up and go to work? Good for you. We appreciate that. Well, I want to remind everybody, because it is our duty too. Make sure you do the 5 things, the top 5 things. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Often. Okay? Wash your hands often. As well as cough or sneeze into your elbow. All right? If you ever think about it, if you sneeze, all that phlegm and spit, comes all out your mouth. So, put it right there in the crook of your elbow, and that will save a lot of lives. Listen, try not to touch your face. I have a bad habit of that, Bones. I have a very bad habit of touching my face. I know everything is there, but I just want to touch my face. So be careful about doing those things. Also, stay more than 3 to 6 feet apart. I made sure I tested it when we came in. We were 3 to 6 feet apart. And listen, if you are feeling sick, stay home. It is one of the most important things that you can do. I also say, wash your surfaces often. Especially if you go out and you come back in, you're bringing bags in, you're putting bags on your counter, you might sit your coat down or whatever the case may be. Wipe your counters up. I think that's another way that you can kind of help in fighting this pandemic.
Don't fight the water.
Don't fight the water. The water is good for you. And I also say wear gloves. There has been some reports to say not wear gloves. I say if you're going to go out, I think you should wear gloves. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, because you're touching other surfaces. And we've been seeing these videos of people licking surfaces. And at first they were saying, I think it is still rings true that it kind of stays on the metal surfaces. So make sure you wipe the surfaces and wash your hands, wear gloves. Do whatever it is that you can do for your part in order to control this pandemic. It is serious. It is real. And as they say, things are going to get worse before they get better. And I think on all levels, on an economic level, on a relationship level, on a patience level. And I think if we just band together and do everything that we possibly can to take this time to do some things that you haven't done before, learn a new craft or fix some things, do some early spring cleaning. There's so many things that can be done. I saw a video earlier today. There are some Jamaicans that live in Wuhan, China, where the epidemic started, and they were giving just family tips on how they're, banding together and playing games and praying together. And I'm sure that they're taking their time to have their own sanity in their own spaces together. So whatever it is that you have to do, community, make sure you do that, as well as check on your single friends, okay? Your single, non-having kid friends. They need you during these times, so check on them, as well as the elderly. They say that if your elders are in a nursing home or assisted living or anything like that, to give them a call. Now, I know some of my community is not having that because they're going to go see their grandma. But please make sure that you are safe and respect what the authorities are saying, as well as each other. Check on each other, period. We need each other, and so check on each other. And so keep it locked right here to Ablazin Radio, especially Community Voices, which you can hear us every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Here we're gonna have a different little controversial topic tonight. We're gonna talk about colorism. Light versus dark. It does it really still exist? And we're gonna talk with Shannon Anderson. She wants to help us change the trajectory on our thinking. Right here on Community Voices on Ablazin Radio, it is where entertainment lives.
The money and fame no mean nothing to me. If you are free when I'm a bird, then you want to bring me.
Done them already. Get back to the money. All them a preach and over they go beat and teach. Them a jive by and all know them can't reach. Go and back up here.
Big up yourself, Frederick Asante, for my Team Enlightenment shirt, straight from Ghana,
Over they
Africa.
go beat and teach. Man jive with the fire tick panic car scene. Boy mouth full of concrete. So police side fight for years, them don't see them. Boy they could the last 1 week. The family's mad, they have to weep. See them some see, beat and teach.
Queen Kiki, big up
So
yourself.
beat and teach, beat and teach, beat and teach. Cassava please beat and teach, beat and teach, beat and teach, beat and teach.
Hey, Eartha.
Everybody see, just figure beat and teach. We not put boy in a them place, but take them out of that. Them not
Check us out right now on ablazinradio.com. It is where entertainment lives. Download the free app, I say.
your son just got carried on a meteorist, so that's every day they rest.
We back, y'all. We back.
And left them featherless, sister left brotherless.
Fiyabone 592 sound.
Water and an upper water. From them this them get the same time not after. What do that knock off ya? You see I must the earth them want to pass. Them do a war. Them think it over. Them skin run left. Them bone fit over. The first 24 hours them a fraud like soda. You see say them a paper soldier. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach. Beat and teach.
From the first time I see you, me send a man to you. You send back to me and say, I know my style, me just shy through. Me see you plus the lady to your right look like she woulda fight for your long hair, bow legs in her east, but she pretty in her eye. And your body shape so good, look like a hourglass. Regular, but none of them none the inner your class. And you not worry about not test because you have to. You are my lady, my baby. You are my lady, my baby. Just wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body, girl. Wind up your body. You got to go for your brain, you get mad now. So turn round, make you clap now. Girl, you're sexy with the wine, you a tease me. So me know when me bring you home, you a go play.
It's Community Voices.
Me see you all a bill now. Have your house, but you a chillin' and a villa now. Make your ex know me a ring ding, you know. And me not go cheap because this.
Happy Hump Day, everybody.
Anytime we flex me, I rate it as the best one. And it make me want married, give me a left hand. Nobody worry about that thing, me have the best plan. You deserve the world and more, nothing less than.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. We are on tonight. Yes.
You are my lady.
Everybody knows it. Yep, I'm that chick. I'm the one that you bring home to mama. Now let me tell you this real quick. If these girls ain't for you, this chick is for you. I'll do anything for you. Tell me what you want, I'm the one that's gonna ride. Oh, real one. All night, all night. Got my man with me tonight. And tonight we gonna party like it's 1999. Yeah. And we gon' bring love back to the club.
There's nothing you will find.
All right. Welcome back. It is Community Voices with MoMo Love alongside DJ Fiyabone, and I thank you so much,
What up,
Bones,
community?
for all of that. It feels like, I don't like when we're not together. It feels like a long time. You know what I mean?
man.
So I'm so glad to see you back and all is well with
glad to
you
be
and the
back.
family.
Missed you last week.
I
Missed
know.
the community last week.
Yeah, they missed you too. I tried to hold it down doing my
love is real.
DJing, but we
did all right.
we made it do what it do. It's nothing like 592 sound. I want to remind you guys to download the free Ablazin Radio Pro app. It's for iPhone and Android users, and you can take us any and every single place that you go, as well as listen to us live on the website www.ablazinradio.com. It's going to be an amazing conversation tonight. So if you would like to, please call the number right here below, 240-949-2289. That's 240-949-2289. Guys, I just want to remind you, do the 5 to remind you about the COVID-19. We're not going to hammer in all of the details because I know that you've been CNN and C-SPAN and MSNBC and Black Atlanta Star and getting your information wherever you deem as a credible source. Please also include the CDC as well as the World Health Organization because they are the premier leader of guidelines that we should be following. One is washing our hands as often as possible. Every time you go out, they have not said we cannot go out, but limit yourself going out. Self-quarantine with your family. There's so many things that we could be doing right now. All of you that's working on your vision boards, that wanted to always fix something, wanted to repair something, wanted to build something, wanted to learn something, wanted to read that book. This is the time to do it, to have some self-reflection, to continue your daily affirmations. This is the time to do those things, as well as making sure that you cough or sneeze into your elbow. You can save a lot of germation, being put out into the air. All right. So make sure you do that as often as you possibly can. If you just so happen to cough or sneeze into your hands, immediately wash them or use hand sanitizer and wash your hands as soon as possible. Okay. Remember, do the happy birthday song, count to 20, count to 40. Wash your hands twice, and you can use any kind of soap, a bacterial soap, Dove soap, Caress, whatever is good, feels good to you, as long as the water is hot and you lather it up real good. Try not to touch your face. I say this to myself constantly because I am a face toucher, so I try not to do it as often as possible. All right, especially right now during this time. Stay 3 to 6 feet away from each other. All right, that's called social distancing. It bothers me because I'm a hugger, you know what I mean? But I have to respect what the authorities are saying and do so I can protect myself and my family, as well as my loved ones, my friends that I come in contact with. So also, if you're feeling sick, stay home. Stay away from people. And feeling sick outside the normal, if you're coughing more than normal, if you're sneezing more than normal, because remember, we're getting ready to get into the cold and flu season, or the hay fever season. So whatever it is that you have to do to keep yourself safe, your family safe, make sure you do that, community, because I want to see you again. We got an update. I was letting you guys know about visiting the elderly, as well as your single friends, checking on people. The authorities are saying don't visit the elderly. All right, you can't do that right now. I know it's a hard time for those of us melanated people because we want to see our grandparents and our great grandparents and make sure that they're okay. But right now we have to heed what they are saying. Call, check on them. They will give you the updates. All right, but don't just go up there and possibly infect your loved ones. We definitely don't want to do that. So as promised tonight, let me tell you, we have a great conversation that's getting ready to happen. All right. And I want you guys to keep it locked. Make sure you download the app. Keep it locked right here. We are going to speak with none other than author She is a mom. She is a researcher, social researcher of justice and all things melanated people, if you will. I want to welcome Miss Shannon Anderson to Community Voices. Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to come out tonight and talk about this serious topic in our community.
Of course. It's a needed conversation.
Yeah. So how did you get interested in colorism, if you will?
Well, I think mostly from my upbringing, I've been aware of it as a child. Through my family upbringing, being raised by a very fair-skinned mother, and my two brothers are fair-skinned, and I was always the brown one. And it wasn't really my family that made a big deal. It was everybody else, always making a comment about it. Do you have the same dad? Or, there are different things, always making a point. However, over the years, I've, heard of a lot of people and children still really in pain from some of the treatment or some of the biases that come from lack of being treated well because of skin color. And so I decided to, I'm actually working on my doctorate, and I was really trying to find a topic in education that was near and dear to my heart. And I always say you find something that you don't get bored about talking about. And this is what it was. And I was a teacher for years. I've been a principal, assistant principal, director. And so it was one thing that's always come up from comments about students to each other, around peer groups. And so...
so what exactly is colorism?
So colorism is basically thinking that lighter skin is a privilege over darker skin. Okay. Yeah. So it is basically light skin being more of a privilege over dark skin and all the biases that might come with it. Mm-hmm. So, and the preferential treatment or the treatment of dark skin people being not as privileged. And so it came about that there's different layers of colorism.
Yeah, so let me stick it right there because that's heavy, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't think that people think that there is still an issue of colorism. Mm-hmm. And I think, in order to get to the root of any problem, you have to go down to the bottom. You got to find out some stuff. You got to uncover some stuff. Mm-hmm. And we don't like to talk about it because we have come so far. Mm-hmm. But do you believe or have the thought that the Willie Lynch or slavery has a part in that? Do you believe that there was actually a field and house, there was a separation of light and dark? And
absolutely. And it was intentional, I believe. So even before then, there was a hierarchy based on skin color. So if you think about Egyptians and who worked outside, and naturally, if you work outside, if you were the people, the workers, you were darker, and then you had the people running everything, basically. And so it was a class thing. So it was more so classism, in ancient times.
Yeah, because so, I'm wondering, classism, and classism is still in effect today
most
as well.
Definitely.
So classism and colorism kind of go hand in hand.
It can. It can. However, classism is more just about that socioeconomics. Okay.
The more well-to-do.
Exactly.
Money.
It's about money, basically. And so colorism is about skin color. It's about phenotypes, your features. And it's the thought that anything closer to European standards of beauty is better. So basically,
your who standard?
European.
Okay.
European standards of beauty.
Okay.
Yes. So that is the thought. And so when we talk about slavery time, when it was, the offspring of the slave masters were able to go in the house and work. and then basically pitting them against their family members that were still outside, only because there were more, you worked inside, less labor, right? And they were given more privileges. So a lot of them were taught how to read and write. During the antebellum period, they were allowed to have, some had land, some own their own slaves, some were able to be entrepreneurs. They were able to go to school. And so that built an even bigger divide between what we call the mixed race and our brothers and sisters who were never mixed.
So then the infiltration starts and it permeates through families because now it's ingrained in us that a fairer skin receives better treatment than a darker skin, which basically we're all black when you talk about pigmentation.
Right.
And if we can go right there for a second, pigmentation is basically the color, how much melanin is actually in your skin. So, of course, if you are of the darker color, you have more pigmentation if you're in the lighter hue.
Exactly.
Of course, right?
Exactly.
So this is now being integrated and infiltrated into us almost as learned behavior.
Ingrained.
Like light is right, get back if you're black, if you will.
Brown,
so
stick
now,
around.
if you're brown, stick around. So now it's a family generational thing.
Exactly, and it's endemic. So, which means it's so built into our psyche and our belief system that it's hard to pull out. So I have like 7 what I call our sphere, and there's 7 influences, and I call historical influence, our educational influence, our societal influence, our economic influence, family, media, and peer, and all those kind of get into how we internalize things.
Yeah.
So you take a little child that is being impacted by all those influences, growing up, seeing things in the media, how we're portrayed in media, the difference. And when I say that, I'm saying like the love interest is usually who?
Yeah, a fair skin.
Okay.
But let's talk about family for a second, because the generational effects we see, right? Little girls and boys are, like you said, you grew up with 2 fair-skinned brothers, and so even within your house or outside of your house, you hear these things. Oh, well, what you doing here? Why you so light? Why you so dark? What color are you? Why don't you look like us? What does that begin to do? Because even though when you go to school as a young child, you hear those mean girls.
Right.
You hear those boys saying different things. When you take pictures, man, you got to smile so we can make sure you there.
Yeah, stuff like that. And that gets perpetuated sometimes in homes and out of homes. Now, I would say in my case, I didn't hear a lot of that inside the house.
Okay.
It was a lot of people around us that would always bring it up.
Okay.
Always make a point to bring up the difference, you
That
know?
you were-
and made it a big deal, you know? And I'm like, wow, we don't really talk about it inside the house, so why are you so concerned about it, you know? And so, but I was raised in Southern Virginia, Hampton, Virginia. I was military brat, so we traveled around a lot. So, but that's where I got most of it from is in, when I lived in Virginia. And so, but yes, it can be, I have friends that talk about grandma saying, oh, she, keep that girl out the sun, that kind of thing, or, or stay under the tree, and how they may have had more, catered to the lighter skinned grandchild. And so I hear stories about to this day of how they were treated, and it's not just, there's also colorism the other way too, you know, some biases that we kind of perpetuate of like especially for light-skinned men, they're saying that they're soft and stuff like that. So that comes up a lot.
And you would expect grandmothers and grandparents, especially of a certain age, to speak of, that little light-skinned cute baby over there. You would expect that because they are not that far removed from, what our ancestors went through in slavery. So the rhetoric still goes on, like you say, it's ingrained, and it takes a while to get out because it seems like it never ends. Like you say, when you start going to school and how the children start to treat one another. And I want to get into that. If you are just joining Community Voices with MoMo Love alongside DJ Fiyabone, we are speaking with Shannon Anderson. She is here to help us change our trajectory on colorism. She is a critical race and social justice researcher, author, and educator. Getting into when kids are in school. You know, can you see the differences right away? Or do kids just come and play with each other? They don't really. When do you start seeing the differences in the treatment of color?
So you may not see it right away. It's, you know, kids don't always separate themselves because of that.
Okay.
But children start internalizing it very early on. And then, you know, like we've seen the doll test, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen that doll test where, you know, even little black kids choose the white doll over the black doll, and they've done it with
the little test where the white kids and the black kids, and they get a doll, a black one and a white one, and they always, whether they're white or black, they tend to go for the white doll because that one is prettier. And then the words underneath the cards, ugly or bad, is always under the dark.
Exactly. And so with the standard of beauty also are all these other attributes that we put to skin color, right? So it is people who and I'm going to talk about more so white. Okay. So white, people tend to say that they're smarter, right? That they're friendlier, that they are hard workers, and all those positive attributes that come to a Caucasian person, right? And then you have a black person, and all it's savage, you know, even though we kind of flip that to, you know, be positive, but, you know, a threat, right? A threat, not intelligent, lazy, all those negative attributes, right? And so let's go into colorism now. The closer a person is to that, those attributes kind of to the European standards, those attributes tend to go
so
with
when a
that.
person's behavior coincides or is synonymous with the adjective, it just perpetuates the thought.
It can, yes.
As well as so it sounds as if like they've heard these negative words, we've heard these negative words, and so we act accordingly.
So that's called stereotype threat. And so stereotype threat is when we start perpetuating, because you know, they think it anyway, so I might as well be it, you know. And it's not that it's conscious. It's a subconscious kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's called, and it happens to a lot of
they think this about us, so we might as well act like this anyway.
And I don't think it's a conscious thing that I'm going to act this way. It is, they internalize the behavior to the look or something like that. But there is research that shows that in school settings, that when there is the same infraction from a lighter skinned child to a darker skinned child, the lighter skinned child gets a less of a
how can those studies be determined, or is this mothers just feeling that way? How are these studies determined?
So this research has been done over the years and by different people, and they look at who's being suspended and expelled, and they compare it. And they create the data from that. And so the same thing, so they'll look at complexion. Now, I will say complexion can be very subjective to some. So, and there is a scale they use, a skin color kind of scale that they kind of use, and it kind of shows where you stop being like light to brown to dark. Okay.
Who uses this?
Some of the researchers do. Yeah, some of the researchers do. So what they do is they look and see, okay, for the same infraction, what did the darker skinned child get, and what did the lighter skinned child? And in most cases, the lighter skinned child got a lighter consequence. So
interesting.
Yes. So their suspension was lighter, or their expulsion was, expulsion is 365 years regardless. Also, as in your policing, if we're thought of as a threat because our features are further away from the European standards, the policing, like we thought of as a threat, right? So the same thing goes for what the research has found in sentences. The same thing applies where if you're sitting in front of a jury and you have more of a friendly looking, and I don't know if y'all anybody can
quote
say
unquote,
I'm doing the quote, a friendlier looking face, your sentence is going to be less. But if you have more of a threat looking, if you look more like a threat or what people perceive as a threat, you can get a higher sentence.
So the bias is if you're dark and mean looking, you're automatically bad.
Yes, but dark and with more of a Negroidian features and what they consider more Afrocentric look.
These are researchers.
Those researchers are saying
Through
that because
studies.
they studied the data and they've looked at features of different people. So yes,
and different statistics throughout the country that says this is where the bias comes from,
Right.
as well as learned behavior. It's a lot into it, because what really hurts me, I think, is that it's not. It is a great deal about what other people think, because we don't want them to think certain ways about us, which limits our capabilities, right? Because as we were saying in education, there are some teachers that are biased based on how they were brought up.
Most
and
definitely.
We don't have a lot of African American teachers that are teaching our children. That's going to be another show.
Yep.
But we know that there are some teachers who have biases against some of our children. I really just want to talk more about how we feel about ourselves and our children, because it is true that there are some children, some parents who behave a certain way, which kind of infects their children to behave a certain way that may not even have anything to do with the color of their skin. It's just their bad behavior. However, there is this bias that this little boy who happens to be dark skinned is acting up. So him and people like little kids like him that look like him are going to be a problem. How do we eradicate that?
So I think it really is instilling the love in our children from early on about that they are beautiful, no matter what type of features they have.
Validating our children.
Validating them on an ongoing basis, overdoing it. I mean, of course, we want to make sure they believe us and never know.
Just don't be saying stuff.
Right, exactly. But their kinky hair is beautiful. Their full lips, their, nose, everything is, and really instilling that pride, because they're going to have enough issues when they walk outside that door, right? And so people are going to judge them regardless, about something. Yeah. So your house has to be a safe haven where you're building up that pride in self when they're young. Yeah. And so when they walk outside that door, that nothing anybody else says is they're gonna take in, and they're not going to internalize it, because we have instilled such pride in our children and belief that they are the one, and nobody can take that away, no matter how they look, and they're not comparing themselves because they see it on the media. They're going to see it, and a lot of things that we see every day, those implicit biases, those things, filtering into the psyche. But they have to find a way to, if they start thinking that way, to change that thought. And we have to start, when we start thinking that way about certain things, to check it. It's called mental models. Check our mental models. Check about what you are thinking and why you're thinking that way. I had a conversation with my line sister this morning. What's up with it, Cherry? And she and we would talk about that. Sometimes these biases do seep in, and we have to turn it around. I mean, we all have them.
I think we all have them.
And it could be, when I posted something on social media, and there was a group that, and I'm not going to even give them, there's a group that went in on me saying light skin don't have privilege, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hold up, I'm not trying to do a dark skin versus light skin. I'm just trying to educate all of us in the community about it, so there's not this separation.
But do you think that there has to be a discussion about light skin versus dark skin? Because I think both sides feel the pain.
That's what
that's
the point I was trying to
make.
And
it's so funny because when we were in the lobby, before the show, we're all having a conversation, and we're talking about what the topic of the show is tonight, and somebody says, "Oh, but you know those light-skinned women are, you know, they are killers, right?" And so it's like,
Trouble.
Huh?
They're trouble.
Trouble. They're trouble. Yeah, the light-skinned women are trouble.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm thinking, see, there it is right there. Not mean-spirited, you know, to some degree truth, I guess, for that
them.
particular person.
Exactly, yes.
But I think I agree with you. I think we need to remove that light dark label, because some of us women can just be trouble, period, right?
Exactly. No matter what hue you are.
Dark-skinned women are trouble too.
No matter what hue you are, just what you get, right?
A woman, period.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's another story.
Right.
That's another subject.
Exactly.
But if you are just joining Community Voices with MoMo Love alongside DJ Fiyabone, we are speaking here with author, educator, and critical race and social justice researcher, Miss Shannon Anderson. We are trying to change the trajectory of colorism and how we think about one another. I just want to go into society beliefs. You know, again, we start as babies. Is that me? We start as babies, you know, kind of having this ingrained learned behavior that we don't even realize that's there, right? And we get into middle school, we get into high school, and we have these biases, like all the cute girls are on the cheerleading team, and all the handsome guys are jocks or whatever like that. But then what we're all going round and round with these thoughts and beliefs. How do we build relationships with these biases that we may have for one another?
You know, I think in social circles, people hang because of those things. Like, oh, I'm going to hang with the cute girls because I think I'm cute. That kind of thing, or vice versa, or whatever. Or I'm going to hang with a different group because they look more like me. And when I worked in high school not too long ago, I did hear some things like that amongst the girls. And I even had like one girl say, why are you dating him? He's too black, that kind of thing. And you know, and I had to talk to the girl, like, you date who you want to date. You don't listen to what the other girls say. You know, things like that. And so, you know,
so it is still going on today. Oh my
gosh, yes, it is. It's still going on. And you know, you think about it. A lot of times, you know, when a mother has a little baby, what's the first thing they do? Look at the fingertips to see.
I don't know that.
I don't know if that's the first thing. They might count the hands.
It is one of the things. If you're going to be honest, it is one of the things that you look at their fingernail beds and their ears to see, oh, they're going to be a cute little chocolate baby. Oh, they're going to be a little chocolate baby.
Oh, they're yelling like their mama.
I got something to add about the high school thing.
What?
I also think it's like a maturity and mental thing, because at one point for me, and this was probably high school and middle school, I would date light-skinned girls, but as I got older, the darker you are, the more attracted I became to you. And the light skin thing just kind of, it was like a phase to me.
It was a fad.
So then this is how you get a chance to get some of this socialness, right? My question to you, Bones, though, is was your grandmother of the fairer skin, or did you just think that light was better?
My grandparents looked like me. I think it was a mental thing, and it was just like,
a mental thing?
Yeah.
And let's unpack that.
It was a mental thing.
Why?
And at one point, it was more like, you know, the lighter they are, the more attractive they are.
Okay, there we go. See?
So it was all about the mental thing. But me personally, after a while, it was like, outside of dark-skinned women, I think the only girlfriend I had that wasn't dark-skinned, or I actually be like, yo, I would marry you, she was Korean. So I think it's about a mental thing. It's because the older I got, it was like, you know what, the skin thing kind of go out a window. You know, it's more about maturity and how they see me versus how I see myself.
And I definitely believe that is a maturity thing, but there is a threat between men and women when it comes to colorism.
What do you mean by threat?
A threat between, maybe sometimes the security is not there. due to the perception or the bias of a light skinned versus a dark skinned woman, or light skinned versus a dark skinned man. Maybe some women don't feel like a lighter man could protect them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed sometimes where if a lighter skinned woman was bullied or something, and she doesn't want her offspring to go through that, you know, when they get older or whatever, they grow up, they might intentionally date someone darker and try to have a child by them, or they marry someone because they don't want their children to go through the same thing they went through, and vice versa. You know, vice versa. If you were dark and you got teased because of being dark, you might try it. You know,
You'll go to the other end of the spectrum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To try to protect your child, you know, from going through the same hurt that you've gone through. You know?
It's so much to colorism if you're just joining Community Voices. Listen, if you want to get in on this conversation, please feel free to do so at 240-949-2289. We are speaking with Shannon Anderson, who is trying to give us a different perspective on and change our trajectory on colorism. She is an author, she is an educator, and a critical race and social justice researcher, and I'm so happy that she braved COVID-19 to come out and chit chat with us tonight. Make sure you guys are washing your hands as often as you possibly can. I'm gonna take a COVID-19 break and say a couple of these things. Make sure you wash your surfaces. Cough and sneeze into the crook of your elbow. Listen, they have not said that we cannot go out, but limit yourself going out. I always say wear gloves. They said don't wear gloves, or if you do, you know, double glove. I just feel like some of these these handles and doorknobs, you know, people may put stuff there. That's where my mind goes. So, you know, I want to protect my hands because I touch my face a lot.
It depends on where you go.
Well, I just don't like these metal surfaces. That's my point.
We can't wear masks at our job because we had guests complaining.
I don't mind my mask.
The one, you have a mask on, you're sick. No, I'm trying to protect
that's
myself
how I
from
agree.
you.
I agree with that.
It's not that I'm sick. I'm just trying to protect myself. But we can't.
I agree, and it's a twofold thing because they say don't wear the gloves because what if it gets a hole in it and da 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 da. But the gloves make me feel safe, just like the mask makes you feel safe. And I'm telling you, people, whatever make you feel safe, don't let nobody tell you different. Just don't go, you know, crazy. Just follow the guidelines. Follow the guidelines and do what's best for you and your family. So we are speaking with Shannon, and we're going to get back to the topic of colorism. The education system has this bias. No, I want to go back to relationships. Okay. We didn't finish on relationships. Okay. How people may choose a mate based on that, and decide how they want their family if they think. But the thing is, DNA, you don't know how it's gonna go, right?
That's the truth.
I've had a girl told me she can't have a child by me because I don't have straight hair, and I guess my eyes wasn't.
That's colorism. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. I mean, my family, I have one brother that has one blue eye, one brown eye. The other one has hazel eyes, and then I'm the last one.
Yeah.
I was like, to the people.
But it does kind of affect our thinking on, especially if you have, you know, I don't want to say backwards thinking, but just narrow-minded thinking.
Right,
still
exactly.
You know, if I'm with a lighter man or woman, my children are going to be like, that child might come out with red hair, and you like, now what's going on?
Right, and the daddy's trying to check the paternity test, right? That's usually what happens. Yes, but you know what? When so race is a social construct that was created by. The categories were created by like 5 different European men over the year, like long time ago, and they're the ones that went around. They traveled, and they made the 5 categories of race, and they made the hierarchy of who was the most beautiful, and they put the Europeans at the top, and Africans at the bottom, and then they start placing attributes to them like that intelligence thing I was talking about, that beauty, and then they just start putting those attributes to them. And then we're still, a lot of times today, we're still thinking that way.
And so, you know what makes me upset, Shannon? You know what makes me upset is that, first of all, they didn't even know about us. They found us.
Right.
And when they found how wonderful and extraordinary we are and what we could do with little to nothing, with nature and things of that matters, they decided, not us. And then it gets ingrained in us. And now there's years of this that we must undo because it's slowly hurting the family.
Right. It is. And it really takes us as parents and people in our society and our community really building our children up no matter what features they have. Because like I said, people are going to break a child down, as soon as you step out that door. So we have to love them up and build them up so that when they do see images and they think of that the standard of beauty is still there, European standards of beauty, and they may not look anything like that they still think they're beautiful, and they still think they're smart, and they still think that they have a crown on their head, or so that they don't fall victim to what everybody else might be thinking about them.
You know what I don't want us to do either is to get so far on either side of the spectrum where we're only loving up our dark-skinned sisters, or only our light-skinned sisters are binding together, and we still don't meet in the middle. Because I mean, when you look at your family, when I look at my family, we have a spectrum.
Right, mine too.
We have a spectrum in our family from albino to blue-black, as we, and should we stop saying these words? Should we stop saying purple-black? Should we stop saying blue-black? Should we stop saying chocolate? Well, why? If it's darker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Okay, so this is the thing.
Talk to me, community.
I had this conversation with a coworker, right? And shout out if she's listening. I'm not going to say the name.
Okay.
But she talked about when she was on the bus ride in D.C. and a father and a son turned to her and said, "Ooh, daddy." The little boy said, "Ooh, dad, she black. She real black." Ooh. And the dad, instead of checking the son, the dad was like, "Yeah, she real black," and start laughing at her. And she was a child, like in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, you know what? We have to get to a point where that does not affect us. Like, okay, I'm beautiful, I'm black. Yes, I am black.
Yeah.
Yes, I am black and I am beautiful. But there's those things where, why didn't the father check them, right? Yeah. The receiver of it was like, oh,
yeah, and then it's
them,
like, do I check somebody else's child? Because now they didn't cross the line. I got it right.
She was a teenager. So this is grown a man with a child. You know, so he should have checked the child.
Yeah.
And reinforcing that she's beautiful, yada, but he didn't. He decided to go along with them. And she still remembers that to this day,
Wow.
and so those are the kind of things that, you know what, if you say I'm real black, okay, that's beautiful to me. We have to switch it.
We do have to switch it. It's a mindset change. It's a mindset click.
Exactly.
And it's a mindset switch, which will not happen overnight. But if we all take the time to try to change our language, and when we have these specific thoughts to even just change the pattern in which we behave with one another, maybe we can all make it a little brighter, right? It's Community Voices with MoMo Love alongside DJ Fiyabone. We are speaking with none other than Shannon Anderson. We are breaking colorism down, y'all. She is changing the trajectory, and we appreciate her. Y'all, we are commercial free, but we're going to let Bones get back on the ones and twos, and when we come back, probably about 8:30, we're going to have a little bit more of Shannon, if you can still hang around for us, and we're going to finish this conversation about colorism. Download the free Ablazin Radio Pro app. I'm telling you, iPhone and Android users, none of you will be upset because you can take it every single place that you go. Log on, listen live, www.ablazinradio.com. Also, call in 240-949-2289. We're going to open the phone lines about 8:30 when we come back, all right? Big up all of yourselves, and thank you so much. Big up yourself, DJ Q Star. Thank you so much for checking in and keeping it locked right here to Community Voices each and every single Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. You know it is where entertainment lives.
Me phone jack, me no pick it up. Right now, me a live it up.
party a bucking up. Champagne just a bubble up. Me and the gal them a cuddle up. Baby, bend over for your drink and pick it up. My line a skirt that flick it up. Right now the raving stars. The gal them each hand from the raving bars. Yeah, me beat them like
just see more can't chase learn they tell me and them shot. And I say them want me head pan black. Me burn the fire till it spread pan that you better. Help poor people with them bed pan black. They say see a dirty heart you a go dead from that seat. Now them a say me mark for that and each time I walk them say me walk for that. You see it, them lock me down and me can't forget. God Jehovah did a guide me say me not regret. I'm so special, I'm so special, so special.
Oh, community, you are so special. It is a Happy Hump Day Wednesday. Thank you so much, DJ Fiyabone, for that wonderful 592 sound mix. We're back. We're back together again. DJ Fiyabone and MoMo Love.
What's up, community? I missed y'all last week, man.
Yes, you know, I don't like when you're away. It just makes it feels like it's so long before we see each other. And
I know, right?
This COVID-19 almost had us down.
I know.
They almost had us out. Big up DJ Ablazin for opening up the studio. Oh, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Make us have this COVID-19 release. You know,
for sure.
Make us feel good about the situation as best we can. You know, I'm dying to know what you guys are doing these last 3 days. I saw a hilarious video of this couple. They were, you know, day one, and they were all lovey-dovey, you know, all happy with each other. And, you know, ooh, babe this and ooh, babe that. And by day 5, they was like, listen, you got to go, okay? So I hope y'all are not to that point yet, right? If you are in a relationship, you have a family, I hope you guys are taking this time to learn some new things about each other, you know, learn some arts and crafts or do some arts and crafts, you know, take some time to really have some family time, some quality time, and check on your single girlfriends and your single guy friends. You know, they all need love too. Just make sure that they are all doing okay, and always make sure you keep in contact or keep your loved ones, your elderly parents and grandparents in your thoughts and prayers. I'm just all over myself. Let me get it together. I'm so excited about tonight. We're talking about colorism here with Shannon Anderson. She is an author, an educator, critical race and social justice researcher. And, you know, we're talking about colorism, light skin versus dark skin. Does it still exist? You know, it kind of starts, it's kind of ingrained in us from early childhood, you know, almost not in a threatening way, not in a mandatory way, but, you know, certain things we say to one another, certain things our grandparents or our great grandparents said. Look at that little chocolate baby. Oh, she's so pretty for a little light-skinned baby. You know, even how you decide to have relationships. You know, even myself, I think when I was in 7th or 8th grade, you know, all the light-skinned boys was the rage.
Yeah, the DeBarge.
Elder Barge. Stop playing. You know Elder Barge is my boyfriend. All the light-skinned boys. Big up yourself, Mickey. He was my first light-skinned boy crush.
Mickey.
Okay. Yes.
Mickey getting a shout out, huh?
Yes, I shout out people, okay? But it's true. I mean, we have these biases. As Bones pointed out earlier, it wasn't anything that may have been instilled in him, but his mental thing was a light-skinned girl was prettier. And myself, too. I thought a light-skinned guy was, you know, was the rage. All of us girls thought a light-skinned boy with good hair, that was the thing. Not because it was ingrained in me, because I had the gamut in my family. We have an albino to very dark hued people in my family. So that wasn't the issue, I think. Like Bone says, maybe it was more mental.
So a lot of the media perpetuates that, and I think, you know, if you remember like the Prince times and the Apollonia and Vanity and all that type, you know, and that was the kind of standard of beauty back in the day. I'm probably aging myself, like that was like the 80s, right? And so you know, it was everybody wanted Apollonia or Vanity, you know, and so that was the look, and everybody wanted somebody who looked like Prince, you know, and you know, and so you know, then it got to be like, or DeBarge, or, you know, whoever, you know, I'll be sure, that type of stuff. So all those, and, you know, and you really didn't see a lot of dark-skinned women held up as beautiful in any of their little networks, you know, or any people they put on and stuff. And so I think over the years, you know, it still just keeps getting reinforced and reinforced. for example, and it starts early. I remember my husband, he was up in the daycare setting one time, and he saw a mom. It was during the summertime, and a mom and her daughter was walking in, and someone said, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "I didn't even recognize you. She got really dark." And her mom and the little girl, instead of saying something about how beautiful the dark skin was, her mom said, "Yeah, I've been trying to keep her and her brother out in the sun."
Oh my!
But yeah, and they're like 3 or 4 year olds, and this was just last summer.
Yeah.
So those kind of things that kids are hearing so young, and they're not maybe saying it directly to the child, but they're hearing their mom say that. And so what do they think? Well, they start thinking that very young, and those little girls start to get older, and they start thinking that, and they see the media, they see everything else is perpetuating that same thing, and it gets internalized.
And let's talk about media for a minute, because I mean, we television, movies. First of all, our image was blackface,
right?
Initially, okay, maybe. And then even when people of color did begin to have roles, there were one of two things: maid,
right,
or the leading lady, the Dorothy Dandridge, and you could see the disparity.
Oh my goodness, it was back in that day. It was a huge difference. Mamie was dark and heavy, right? Yeah. And then the beautiful person was Dorothy Dandridge or Lena Horne or those type of people. And then, but as someone that had a browner hue wanted to get a role, they had to be the maid, the cleaner, the butler for the men, that kind of thing. So you never saw really a light skinned man playing the butler.
Even best friends in shows,
right? Yeah.
The leading lady,
yes,
would be of the lighter hue.
Yes. The love interest. So you saw it in Martin Lawrence's show, and the best friend was the dark, loud one that couldn't get a man. That he was always talking about the way she looked and the horse hair, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the Marlon show, still to this day, that's something that still goes on. It's still on. I don't know if it's on Disney or something, but it's the Marlon Wayans show. Yeah. The youngest guy, so the youngest brother.
Yeah. He every show he has that same woman.
Yes, and so she's the love interest, and then there's the brown skin best friend. They still can't get a man. He's joking on her. All types,
calling her all kinds
of names. So
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, the sister.
Yes, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, and then they changed it. Yeah,
dark to light.
Yeah. So we keep seeing these in the media. And when a little girl was looking at it, they're like, okay, well, that's supposed to how I act, or this is what, that marriage material is the lighter skinned woman, So like I said, little kids start internalizing that, and and we take that with us as we get older.
Yeah. Now we're seeing a shift.
Yes.
In a lot of theatrical dramas, comedies. We're seeing a big shift where the dads look like dads. They got bellies, they got beards, they got mustaches, they have locks.
Yes.
We're seeing a shift where the moms are, curly haired and, but then, devil's advocate, here I come. Now there feels like they're showing a lot of mixed
race,
a lot of mixed race. So now everybody has curly hair.
Yes.
And there's
that's the happy medium.
A white mom, a white dad, and a black mom, and the kids have curly hair. How do you think that's shaping, or what is that? What kind of message that's sending?
They're playing it safe. I think a lot of times, okay, we're not going to go too far one way, but let's give them something in the middle.
You think we'll all be one race?
I
mean, that's what it feels like they're advertising.
It's a possibility, because some people are their look is ambiguous. You can't tell what they are nowadays. Like that person.
You think we're gonna go to a one race? Was that what you was gonna comment on, Bones?
I mean, me personally, I've always been saying we one race already. It's only been one race.
The human race.
The human race. Until like the higher ups, the anarchy, the older generation, the bigger up, people in power start addressing it as that and stop looking at color, we're going to always have this.
Well, so again, race is a social construct, and it was created by some European men that said these are the races, these are different. Yeah.
So we have another meeting that, or we just say, kick that out of the door. It's going to always be like this.
Yeah. But thank goodness the Black Panther and Steve Harvey's one where the whole cast was brown skin, dark skin women, you know. And
Think Like a Lady. Think Like a Lady.
Yeah,
Act Like a Man,
that
something
one.
like that.
Yeah.
Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole cast.
Yeah. And then, you know, there's
except for the bald head dude, he was like the darkest one.
Okay, yeah.
What's his
talking
name?
about the women for
He
the most
was,
part. Yeah.
Forgot his name. He
Yeah.
was
I forgot. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. So yes, there. And even this the show that I love to watch because it's such a nice love story. Cherish the Day.
Cherish the Day.
Yes.
Okay.
And I thought about the dynamics of that one. You got the light skinned man with a light skinned mom, and she's snobby and hating on the dark skinned woman, and she comes from like Compton or something, and you know, and they're trying to mix the families up. And I'm like, how have we flipped that? What if we said it was this light-skinned family that came from Compton and we had like gang members and all? It was all these stereotypes were perpetuated in this show. And so the light-skinned guy has light-skinned mom. Her husband was dark-skinned though, and they're well off, and they're polished and all that kind of stuff. But the mom was a snooty light-skinned woman, you know. And then he finds his love and a dark-skinned natural woman, but she comes from Compton, and her uncle raised her because her mom died, and they're gang affiliated, and so that still perpetuates these stereotypes. And then when the mom meets her, you know, she's snobby to her, you know, and I'm like, this is still saying the same thing.
Colorism kind of equals or blends into classism still to this day. How do you feel about we were talking about the social economics of it, or the societal beliefs within colorism. What about how we treat one another based on these biases?
You know, I don't think it, you know, I don't know if it stops people from being friends with people because of skin color. It might. I see a lot perpetuated in like high schools where there's cliques and, you know, and that kind of thing. But, you know, you also see like the social part of it, like on TV, things like Basketball Wives, when they're, you know, or Love and Hip Hop. I think and all those kind of things, they've been talking about colorism a little bit on that. But that social clique, you know, they kind of ostracized the dark skinned girl, and you know, and the dark skinned girl was saying it was colorism because she wasn't in the clique.
And so, how much of it is colorism, and how much of it is just Mean Girl?
So Mean Girl, that can drive Mean Girl. Okay, so that can drive Mean Girl definitely, because you know, it can form cliques, and usually when a clique is formed, it's because of a reason. A clique is formed because of likeness. Okay, you know, and if you're not in that likeness, then you might be bullying or treating other people differently because you're not in that likeness. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If you're just joining Community Voices with MoMo Love alongside DJ Fiyabone, we are speaking with author, educator, critical race and social justice researcher Shannon Anderson. What were you going to say, Bones?
No, I was going to say there was two shows. As much as I thought it would portray a whole lot of blackness, when you look at it in Ladies, they were light skinned too.
Who's that? What's that?
The Cosby Show. And what's the other one with Dwayne and Whitney? With the college.
The college.
Yes.
Another World.
And those were a different world.
A different world.
And those were like the two blackest of blackest shows.
My black card revoked.
And now that you think about it,
I know, right?
Both ladies were of the lighter color.
What happened to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I remember the first
wife. Yeah, Iron Fib.
She was dark.
She went from blacker than tar to
but see, this is where we get into this controversial, because she had contractual issues. Okay, that was the real deal.
Forget the personal issue. They outside of that was one of the reasons.
You think they should have got another dark skin?
Including Family Matters.
Let me ask you this about
the
media.
Aunt, the mom, the daughter.
All of them were brown.
They all was dark when the show started. Yeah. And they all went brown by the time the show was ended.
Oh. I don't remember that one. I thought they were all the same.
Not a daughter too.
I thought they only changed the one daughter. But let me ask you, Shannon, about media. How we were talking a little bit about it, how it's kind of changing, how the look is changing back to or changing to a safe place. Do you think advertisers are even focusing on black people per se?
Oh yeah, because we spend a lot of money. We have a lot of dollar to, we spend money, and they want to make sure that they're not ostracizing. So in their thought, they're saying, hey, I'm giving them something.
And we'll make it safe.
Exactly.
We'll make the mothers curly haired.
Yes.
We'll have interracial. We'll have all of these things to make everybody feel included.
I'm sure it's making a lot of people angry about that certain people angry with the mixed stuff, But I think they're thinking it's best of both worlds. Kind of, we got the white dad, and black mom. Got
See, and me, I feel like it's an advertising. Like you said, we'll just do this so that it pleases everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have a little bit of everything in here.
And that I do think there's certain demographics of people that makes angry as well when they see that.
Shannon Anderson here on Community Voices talking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, my fault. I was watching a documentary the other day. They Gotta Have Us.
Oh yeah. I started watching that.
Very interesting.
And that's part of the whole colorism spectrum, right?
Where they thought, we got one black person.
That's
might not
enough.
be that dark,
Yeah.
but we have a black person.
They're safe. They're safe.
And it makes us safe. It makes us feel like it's okay. It makes us feel like, they gave us somebody that, so we're winning now. We're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
We're in there.
Well, a lot of times now there's always that one token person. You got to get the minority in an episode, and so it might be somebody from LGBTQ, and there might be a black person, might be an Asian person. They're trying to get somebody in on a TV show, so that we're represented.
Yeah.
But the ones they're trying to plug in, like you said, is from the alphabet people. I'm like, nah, can we just have a black person?
Well, everybody has to be included, and there has to be diversity.
But why they got to be included in just the black people? Like every show, literally, I've seen since before and starting with Empire. When they go to the alphabet people, it's either the black woman or the black guy. That's what they want to keep giving us. Like, can we just have somebody? We ain't gonna knock y'all. How about y'all just make y'all own show? You had Queer Eye
because diversity has to be included. However, I like to stick on colorism and how that has affected us as a people. Yes. Because how it affects us as a people is how others will look at us, right? How we treat one another, whether you're light skin or dark skin or caramel or I'm in the spectrum. Back in the days, our ancestors had to deal with the paper bag test.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And if you millennials, I'm sure, don't know anything about the paper bag test. If you have a grandmother or grandfather that's over the age of 70, I urge you to ask them what the paper bag test is. And what the paper bag test is that if you were darker than a brown paper bag, you were not allowed to sit at their counters or to sit at their seats
or churches
or join any kind of social club. So where we have come a long way, the infighting of colorism within ourselves is what disturbs me. I think we should go back to how they used to pick women out.
Well, let me talk.
But then again, I still be single.
Wait. So one thing I want to talk about.
I gotta get my squats up.
DC. Remember, there was one school. I think it was Dunbar, and another school that one school was for lighter skin, and one school was for darker skin.
Wow.
Dunbar was one, and I can't remember. I should have written it down. And so that was separated, and you really could not. And there's a book out that I actually got. It's very old, and someone was doing research on it. And so she studied the what was going on in DC back in the day. And so so the schools were separated by complexion and course class status. And those students that went to the lighter skin school were basically a shoo-in to go to Howard. So Howard had a lot of it back in the day, and I'm sorry if I'm offending any HU people. My husband graduated from Howard, but Howard at one time they wanted a picture to be sent in. And so I think the president was like, no, that's not because we want to see the color complexion, but there was a very big segregation of those kids that came from one school in DC that basically were able to, were a shoe-in for Howard, get accepted to Howard, and then that clicked. And if you look in this book, it has all the beauty queens, right? All the beauty queens, basically, and all these people that voted said they voted because they wanted the queen to look more Caucasian, basically, and that's how they chose their queens.
Yeah, I just want us to get a tighter grip on this thing, right? Because we're quick to point out racism. We're quick to say, oh, Gucci made this sweater that has a black face with red lips, you know, and we fought so hard to get to where we are right now, right? Which is not far enough, in my opinion. But I just feel like we as a nation, as a people, we need to do better with how we treat one another. Colorism and classism.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I do understand that once you get to a certain level in what society deems as successful, opposed to what you deem as successful, we move away. We change our demographics, right? We change who we deal with. We change the way we speak. But even in that, we get into this, oh, you sound like a white person because you use proper diction.
And anything, and that goes back to anything closer to European standards is right. Anything further away from European standards is considered wrong.
All right, but then you have the side of the spectrum which says, and oh my God, of course we're getting all into this, and Wine Up Wednesdays is coming right up next with Lex Les and Audrey on sports. We have oh gosh, we have this thing we got to talk about, but we got to end the show soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I made this joke, and basically I'm going to be single all my life if this is true. Shannon, tell the story.
Okay, so in some of my research, there was the European men that I was speaking of when they were going around from continent to continent. They were observing the characteristics of different people, right? And so they said that the men in Africa chose their wives. They would line them up, and whoever had the biggest derriere was their wife. And I was like, well, that's one thing that has not changed. I don't know about lining them up, but we've held on to the booty love,
so that's I guess I'll still be single. Well, I have some time during this COVID-19 to get my squats on, okay? When y'all see me emerge.
Not everyone. Not everyone is
when
on
y'all
it.
see me emerge, I think I'm like, dang, girl, where you been?
Right.
Not everyone is on it. Don't be fooled, community. Not all man is on the booty.
Well, I'm glad we only scratched the surface of this topic, because colorism is very big in our community, and you know it's something that's been ingrained in us, you know, for a very long time, since our ancestors were taken from their homeland and told that they were less than what they are, since the separation on plantations of the darker skin and the lighter skin, and how this affects us in our families, with our great-grandmothers and our grandmothers saying, you know, I love that little light-skinned baby, or you cute for a dark-skinned girl. And then how we go to school, and, you know, I don't want to discount my brothers, because our brothers that are of the darker hue, they had to go through certain things, you know, and we kind of have it from society, but we also put it on ourselves. And I think what happens is that it keeps us from a lot of things. It keeps us from attaining a lot of altitudes in our lives, education, broadening our social spectrum, obtaining homes, and traveling is something that really broadens your horizon about how people are treated and how you should treat people. So I say all of that to say a whole bunch, but I really wish that we could get a tighter grip on how we treat one another.
And this is not a versus. This is education. It's not light skin gets dark skin gets light skin. It is us coming together to understand it, and really what the root causes were.
Yeah.
And why we think this way, and why why we think that we got here.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's a learning experience for all of us, and it is a way to unite us, and that's
continued learning.
Exactly. And so I don't want us to come out, thinking that we're in a boxing ring. It's not that at all. We have to start changing the trajectory of our thinking.
I have like 1.5 minutes left.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to tell the people on colorism, and where can they follow you for more information?
Oh, sure. Yes. So on Instagram, I am changing the trajectory. I think I'm 2018. I'm also have on colorism edu on Instagram. And if you have a story to tell, and I'm doing my research, and I'll be surveying and doing interviews, if you're interested, go on colorismed.com and you can fill out the survey, or you can email me at info@colorismed.com. So that's colorismed.com. You can email me and say you have a story to tell, or go on the website and just fill out the form.
And that information will go into your doctorate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're looking for people to interview and to tell a story about any effects of colorism on them and their lives or their family.
Yes.
And give that email one more time.
Email is info@colorismed.com.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a dark skin story, or like it could be any color, a story about that, growing up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we thank you so much. Wait a minute. Now, you got to give a plug out for your books.
Oh, my
for
books,
the baby
for my
books.
babies. Yes.
Real quick.
Yes.
Come on, real quick.
So my
Shannon
kids
is an
and
author and an educator and a critical race and social justice researcher, and her children and her. Go ahead.
Yes. So this has nothing to do about colorism. The first book was with my
Shameless
daughter,
plugs.
Savannah Sky, and she wrote My Dad is a Rock Star, and it basically talks about her relationship with her dad. She thinks he's a rock star. She looks up to him, and so and then the next one, which should be on Amazon next week, but you can also go on changingthetrajectory.com and in order from me directly, and that one is the Adventures of Dakota Joe and his best friend Tommy the Toad. And so we wrote those. So those are what they wanted to talk about. So that's what we wrote with them. And all the rest of the books are going to be stuff I want to talk about. I gave my kids a shot, and so they co-authored, and we're good.
Listen, and during this time, you'll do two things. You'll support a small business by purchasing not one but both of the books, and you'll also have another reason to have family time. Okay, and encourage your children to write books, or you write books together. All right. So we want to again thank Miss Shannon Anderson. She is an author, educator, and critical race and social justice researcher. If you want to give her your story on colorism, make sure you follow her at Changing the Trajectory 2018. Changing the Trajectory. Try to say that 5 times. 2018, and we'll make sure we put more information up there. All right, guys, COVID-19 is serious. Make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you cough and sneeze into your elbow. Listen, try not to touch your face. It's so hard for me because I love to touch my face. Stay about 3 to 6 feet away from each other. Practice this social distancing. CDC and the World Health Organization, these are their guidelines, but follow them. All right, period, point blank. Yeah. If you are feeling sick, stay the freak home. All right. Listen, if you go out and about, do what you feel is best to protect yourself. If you have to wear gloves, or if you want to wear gloves, because I will be wearing my gloves. I have my gloves. Wear your gloves, wear your mask, have your Lysol. Big up Audrey. She got her Lysol, she got her spray, she got everything. She's ready and on point.
Don't be like the woman at the bus stop.
Don't be like any of those people. Protect yourselves. And I can't wait to hear all of the fun things that you guys are learning and doing with your family. Check on your single friends. They need love too. Don't leave your single friends out. Give them a call. The one thing that I'm excited about is that maybe we'll pick up the phone and call each other more often. Listen, community.
Not gonna happen.
Don't do that. Don't do that. MLK said our lives end the day we begin to be silent about things that matter. And I say, remember to use your voice, community. And we are out.
Baby, now I've got the flow.
Big up Frederick Asante. Ghana standing proud with my Team Enlightenment shirt. Thank you, friend.
All those times you said that I love you.